That's what we're making right there. Good looking, isn't it? Hello, welcome to Texas Cooking today. I'm going to be making corned beef today. I've got one right here. This is a very simple recipe and I'm not going to be doing two videos today. It's just going to be a short, quick, easy tutorial on how to do a corned beef. Now there's some folks that already know how to cook corned beef, but not everybody does. And we're going to get into some of the nuances. I'll teach you some of my tricks. Before I get into that, something I would like to mention, please take a look in the description box. That's where links are to my website. That's where I have my products, my merchandise, you know, my shirts. I've got pillows there, I've got bags there, I've got my recipes there, and services I provide. So take a look at that. There's some really cool stuff. There's also a new Wisio account down there. If you would take a look at that, it's a really cool way for you to get videos or audio or just something written directly to me, and I'll respond directly back to you, providing you with a video just for you. It's a good thing. Now, no more about that. Let's get on to this. Back here, I have a pot of water boiling. All right, now when it comes to cooking up a corned beef, what do? Okay, you can cook it any way you want. However, some cooking methods don't work very well. You don't want to smoke it, you don't want to grill it. It doesn't really work out too well. Things that do work well, any form of long cooking. You can braise this. You can put it in a pot with some liquid, stick it in the oven, and hey, 6 to 8 hours later, guess what? You're starting to develop a beautiful, wonderful roast that's fork tender and delicious and ready to eat. Another way is to do it the way delis do it. They bake them. Okay, so you take the roast, clean it off, put it on a rack, stick it in the oven, and you bake that sucker. Plain and simple, just regular roasting. And that's when you're going to take it and thin slice it and you get that wonderful corned beef for sandwiches that's been roasted to very unique flavor. My favorite way of doing it, and I think it's the simplest way of doing it, you take a big pot, something that'll hold it. You fill it with water, hot water. Right now the water's coming up to a boil, so it's getting to the right temperature for us. The pot's ready to go. All I need to do is get this in it. Now the thing of it is I don't want to put this directly in it with all the juice and all that stuff. Don't do that. Take it out of the juice, wash it off. And the reason, this stuff has been pickled in a brine. Okay, there's nitrates used, nitrites, there's salt all over it, there's other chemicals. In fact, I read on the label of this one, it has papain in it. And papain is a meat tenderizer. So it's got a meat tenderizer in there that's softening things up for you. You just need to give it the right cook. That brine doesn't have a good flavor, and if it gets into the water that you're going to boil it in, it's going to have a tendency to throw the flavors off. It'll make it a little bit more bitter. This is going to be slightly bitter. That's my pot. This will be slightly bitter because it has been pickled. Okay, so that's part of the characteristics of corned beef. So let me get this in water, wash it off. And the next thing you'll see is me getting it in this pot right over here. This isn't a hard thing to do. Go ahead and get yours unpacked. Alrighty. Now, I mentioned to you, I was going to give you my best, ooh, come on, easy, easy, in there gently so I don't splash it. I was going to give you my best tips and techniques and tricks for doing one of these. Now, I just told you the first one, which is go ahead and wash the thing off. That extra brine isn't good in the water you're going to cook this in. Whether it be baking it or braising it, cooking it like this, or even doing it in a crock pot, which works great, by the way, guys. Even doing it in a crock pot, folks, when you're doing this, you want to make sure it's washed. You don't need that extra briny flavor. Now the second thing, some of the brine that has soaked into the fat, not the meat, because really not much soaked in there, but some of it penetrated that fat, and it's going to start boiling out here in a minute. And as it does, it's going to form this grayish pasty looking foam, this scum that comes to the surface. Take a spoon, skim that off, and get it out of there. Again, that's part of that brine. You don't want cooking down any more into this. You're looking to kind of pull some of that back to make the meat a good, clean flavor. So we remove that extra scum that comes to the top, and then once that's finished, we put in a packet of seasoning. Now, the seasoning is something that actually comes with it. It's this little guy. These little packets are filled with mustard seed and some other items that are in there. Sometimes there's bay in there, there's peppercorns sometimes, and it just depends on the maker of the corned beef. And I'm not going to get into who does the best or worst corned beef. I'm not too partial about, you know, brand picking when it comes to that stuff. I just go for what's on sale. So this is simple. Get it in here, wait for it to come to that boil. When it does, in a little bit, I'll show you what that looks like. We'll get it skimmed out of there. Cooking time. You're looking usually at anywhere from 40 minutes to an hour per pound. And that depends on the tenderness of the roast. Sometimes they cook in a short period of time. Sometimes it takes a long time. Either way, be patient with the thing, okay? Don't hurry it. Fork tender is when it's ready. It tells you when it's ready, not the other way around. All right, now you remember I told you when this comes up to a boil, it was going to start kicking off some of this stuff. Look at this. See the color of that? That kind of funky, ugly looking stuff? That's what we're trying to get out of there, right there. So if you would, just pull some of that up and spoon it out. And don't worry, if you feel like you've removed too much water, you can always add a little more water. That ain't going to hurt anything. There we go. Anyway, this will be a few minutes as it kicks this stuff off. It does take a moment. Yeah, let's see, I've got a nice, large corned beef here. Now I'll mention also one other thing. When it comes to types of cooking, I did not mention slow cookers, you know, like crock pots. Another great way of cooking one of these is in a crock pot. If you go to work during the day and you want to cook one of these suckers, put it in the crock pot, put some water in there, set it up, and when you come home, you're going to have some beautiful, tender, delicious corned beef that was really, really worth the trouble. Folks, this is such a delicious dish. If you've never done it, please try it. Now the water that I cook this in when I'm finished is the same water I'm going to boil my cabbage and potatoes in and anything else that I want to cook with this. It's considered a one-pot meal, and there's another name for it. They call it a New England boiled dinner. All right, so boom, there we have it. Simple stuff. Pull the scum off of the top of yours so it'll taste good. And once it's up on just a regular boil and it's not kicking off any more of that, cover it, lower it to simmer, and let it cook. And remember, you need to cook it until it's fork tender, and that'll take several hours. All right, I have removed what this has been kicking off in the way of that, like I said before, pasty scum. So just remove that off of there. There we go. Your seasoning packet, just go ahead, put it right down in there. And if you want, you can actually rinse out that seasoning packet to get whatever's inside. Some people do. I do. Okay. At this point, all I have to do is cover it, lower the temperature, and let this thing simmer until it's fork tender. So it's going to be the majority of the afternoon for me. Okay? You're always hearing me talk about going to my website to get my recipes. I wanted to show you something different. Something else that I sell there. I sell more than just recipes. I have prints, shirts, bags, pillows, all kinds of stuff. Take a look, it's really cool. We're gonna unbox this thing right now. This is one of my prints. It came framed. I can't wait to look at it. Let's get at it. Here we go. Cut, cut. All right. Now I'm seeing some stuff down in here. It looks like something with bubble wrap. Okay, See, that's just bubble wrap under the other end of it. It goes around it. I'll pull this guy out. Okay. All right, so for the money shot. Oh yeah. Sorry, it's mine, you can't have it. Yeah. It does look good. It looks really good. I think it's something that you should try. Definitely go there, take a look at some of the stuff I have. You're going to be surprised. I need to clean up the glass. It's got some stuff on it, but outside of that, great looking print. Nice looking frame. The frames are all wood. They are joined well at the corners. You have clips on the back holding in a backboard. And back here it appears that there are a couple of different clamps, one for each corner to hang it by. So that should work out real well, huh? Let's see what else is in the box there. I think I have fell down underneath me. There we go. And of course, there's my packing slip that'll tell you exactly what you get in your box. Thank you very much for watching this, and please give it a try. Time to take a look at this and check it for doneness. Now this has been simmering for a while. In fact, it's been simmering for just slightly over 4 hours. Okay, yeah, see there how the fork, even though it's holding on a little bit, it's sliding right back out of it. So that means that this thing is what we call fork tender. All right, and I'm going to pull it out of this water. I'm going to use the same water for cooking up my potatoes. And I'm also going to go out to the garden and see if there's anything else out there I might want to just go ahead and throw in this. All right, so it's as simple as pulling this out. Now, when you do, use tongs, use a spoon to support the whole thing, because if you've cooked it really well, they can break apart and splash water on you. You don't want that, so be careful. The other thing is, if you're going to be cooking other things like potatoes and cabbage and stuff like that, put this in a warm place. You can cover it with foil on a platter and put it in a warm oven, you know, on a very low setting, and just let it sit there, and it'll be perfectly fine, okay? Nothing's going to go wrong with it. And until you cut it, and then when you're cutting on this, you're going to find a beautiful, tender, slightly grainy meat that's wonderful. Okay. As I said, caution. Support that thing, okay? The other thing I'm going to do, while I'm making a little mess, I'm going to turn this over, leave it with the fat side up while it's sitting in the oven. And if there's a little bit of water on that plate from removing it, that's fine. That'll just keep it nice and moist. I'll cover this with some foil now, put it in a warm oven, and get on with the rest of this. Well, I've got some potatoes ready back here, and I went to my garden and pulled out a fresh cabbage. So that was actually cut just moments ago right from the plant. And I'm going to take this beautiful cabbage and quarter it. We'll put it down in the water and cook it up. Now if you've never done this also, it's not so hard. Just cut out the core on the cabbage, which isn't so difficult. Just take a wedge out at the bottom. Sometimes you'll see a little bit sticking in there. Okay, so I've got cabbage and potatoes ready to go in. These things the cabbage doesn't cook that fast, but it cooks fairly quick. The potatoes take a little longer. And I want to say this, put your potatoes in first, let them cook. Once the potatoes are done, you can pull them, get them out of the way. The cabbage isn't going to take that long. Potatoes hold heat easily, okay? So that's how you kind of look at stuff like this if your pot isn't big enough. And in this case, it would be crowded with all of this. And the next thing, be careful how you get things in there. You don't want to be sloshing anything on you, okay? There we go. I'll turn up the heat, bring that up in temperature. It'll be boiling in a moment. Those potatoes will probably take about 15 to 20 minutes, and it'll be about the same on the cabbage. All right, I have put this in the oven, given it time to rest while I was cooking my vegetables. Now it's time to go at it. Get to cut this thing and enjoy it. And also pay attention to which way the grain runs. It runs this direction on this piece of meat. And since it's running this direction, if I cut from this corner across this way at an angle, I'll get directly across the grain cuts. And that's exactly what I'm going to do. So let's just take our time, very gently with the knife, because this stuff is super tender. And my total time on this, total cook time, not including the oven, was about 4.5 hours. And this was about a 5.5 pound roast when I started. So I think we ended up with something absolutely beautiful. And this deep red color that you see inside of this is normal, it's natural. It's the way it's supposed to be. And that is from the actual pickling process, the brining process gives you this color right here. So folks, there it is. We have gorgeous, gorgeous corned beef. It really doesn't get much better than that right there. And if you want to make the best Reuben sandwich you've ever had, this is where it begins, right here. So, as you've seen right there, very easy to cut, even fork tender. Sublime, so tender. With that beautiful flavor that only corned beef has. Oh, that's good. Folks, if you've never done corned beef, give it a try. If you've done it before, maybe you saw a few tricks or tips that might help yours to get just a little bit better. This is an easy meal to make. My corned beef, my potatoes are back here in my oven. They're resting. They're waiting for me to pull them out, put this all together, and enjoy a delicious meal. Folks, thank you very much for watching. Please, as I mentioned before, take a look down below in that description box. You're going to see my links there. My website is where you're going to find shirts, pillows, bags, recipes, prints, all kinds of neat stuff. Take a look. Good stuff there. Thank you very much for helping out if you do. And folks, please have a good day and enjoying that corned beef. Bye-bye.